First thing you're going to be using is thermal imaging. So you guys should be able to see me in there, red, orange, and yellow guy. Oh, this is going to work out. It's more ladies tonight. I am the hottest thing inside the video right now. Yeah, see? If you're a bachelorette party, that kills, just so you know. But anyway, we're looking for blue and black. Those are the cold spots. We're looking for literal cold spots. It's that old adage. We've all heard it, right? You get the chills on the back of your neck, your hair stands up, that kind of thing. So the cold spots, that's how they're going to show up, blue and black. We're looking for them to either take shape or to start moving on their own. So when we've caught things with this guy, they have been in full figures of people, and they're not human. So I will tell you that. So does this capture something every single night? Not necessarily, but if we're not recording, we're not going to capture it. So the cool thing, the way I have this guy set up, is there's a blue dot bouncing around the screen. That blue dot is giving you the coldest spot in the frame at that particular moment. So that kind of helps guide your eye when you get your video of this back. So that way you know where you're looking for those actual cold spots to start appearing. I normally look for 15 plus degree temperature drops in order to classify anything as close to being paranormal. You're going to find I'm going to do a lot of debunking for you, especially if you're a fan of this kind of thing. Again, I'm usually the guy of the bearer of bad news. Like, no, that was just the wind. That was some trees ruffling kind of thing. But this is a FLIR camera. This is the real deal. This is not a phone app. This is what firemen would use to actually help save people. So again, we're going to do starts and stops with the recording, but with this guy, it's because the software sucks. If we record for too long, we lose some footage, and I don't want to lose any footage for y'all. We want to make sure we get the quality footage. I'm going to splice it all together and make you all one video out of it, so that way you don't have to like, oh, where were we here? Where were we there? So I'm going to stop the video at this damn circle. So
this was beeping, but I just...
It'll make noise.
Okay.
It'll make noise every time it gives you a new letter.
So am I supposed to keep track of the letters?
It does it for you. The bottom row.
Okay.
There's your first beep. So you should have a new letter at the bottom row.
I've got lots of them. So lots of beeps.
Oh. See all that bottom row? That bottom row were all the letters that you received.
Oh, it's okay. Whatever.
Well, you and I need to look at them so that way we can see if there's anything in there.
Yeah, no. I can tell you what it is. But it's good. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have to worry about that.
Let me know when it gets full because we'll reset it and start you off fresh again.
I think I'm about 2 for me full.
No, 1. Okay. What was that letter? Anything to add to it?
Lots of Q's.
Q's?
Like Q. Like lots of them.
Wow. Okay. That's weird.
3.
Ooh,
I think I might be.
QAnon.
Am I full?
I would say you're definitely full. So we are actually going to counterclockwise and turn it back on again. So now you have, have an empty slate.
Okay,
so,
thank you.
Congratulations, everybody. You made it to your first space. It's a parking lot. Good job. You made it. So, what is this place? It used to be something. It's a parking lot now. It used to be something relative to the history of Charleston. This used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion. It actually sat in the front of this space facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant over there and came all the way across. And we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. That's what was back here. So, for those of you with communication devices, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color was George Washington's white horse, like what we did with the Big Red Barn. You're going to get the answers from your communication device, and again, I'm going to withhold information on purpose. But remember, I can prove everything that I'm going to say is going to be somewhat legit. So, here's what goes on here. Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. You see why we look for those secondary clues now? Again, we need to know which Chuck we're chatting with if one of them happens to show up. The son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a big deal for us. However, I hate politics. I hate politics more than anybody. So we're going to move on to Eliza. Her story is way more fruitful anyway. Eliza married Charles at a young age, according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. If we're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, we're not going to hear numbers like 12 and 14. We're going to think of the numbers that would be considered young today. I bring this up because her husband was over double her age when they married. Kind of a creepy age gap in colonial times, definitely a creepy age gap now. So kind of put that, and I only say that because the age gap would be the same age gap of me and my oldest daughter. Like, we'll just put it in that perspective. Now you guys are all guessing my age. That's cool. So with that, she was correct. She married Charles because her father thought he was dying, and that's why she married him. And he's trying to bring all of his kids home. He's over in England, and she doesn't think he's dying. So she stays put, and that's why she got married. Well, it's 1744, and you don't get married in 1744 to obtain a green card. We're not even a country yet. So She was correct. Her father didn't die right away, and instead he starts sending her gifts from England to this space where we're standing, and one of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. Now, you guys have been in town for at least an hour that I know of. You've seen the word indigo somewhere. It's a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Most of you are wearing it tonight. You're the oddball. You got the black one. So she's like, eh. It's funny because last night I had no examples of blue jeans. Nobody had blue jeans on, so all of you have them on tonight. But anyway, she didn't know what to do with those seeds when she got them. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's obviously not hot here all the time. So when she had it figured out, she moved it to a cash crop plantation and got a hold of her father and said, the rice plantations are going downhill. We're going to make a killing with this indigo. Literally, these weren't the terms that she used because it's colonial times. I'm bringing it up to date. But with that said, now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. These are the 1700s where a woman was not a business person at all. So this is a very big deal. This is the boring stuff, by the way. We're going to get into the weird stuff because that's why everybody's here. So, Eliza, there's a lot of weird things that go on here. I normally go through a series of questions with each communication device so that way you guys have something to focus on. But obviously anybody wants to reach and grab for that marriage question of how old they were, by all means do so, because it will show up on any of your spirit boxes, even Donatella's if we switch it over to numbers. So it's right now just on letters. But with yours, the mansion's not here anymore. You can find out, you can ask Eliza directly what happened to the mansion, and if she tells you, ask when that happened. We're obviously looking for a very specific date. So again, that's going to, it took place on a very specific day. And it's not going to be like a 1, 2, 3, 4, like it's a December this or January that kind of mentality. So these are questions that you can focus on. If there's anything else that I give anybody else that you want to kind of reach and grab for, you can do that as well. Jenny, with yours, I already told you there was one child. There are more. You can ask how many children Eliza had and what their names were. And nothing else after that about kids because there's a tragedy among those children. And if we poke the bear, all activity will stop, including any readings that Jim might be getting on his device. So just kind of keep it very simple with the children. Sherry, with yours, you're getting Eliza's death. Anything you want to ask about her death, about how old she was, what she died from, where she's buried, and which U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Again, if that doesn't show you how important she was, like, I don't know what will. So again, if you want to ask other things about her death, by all means do so, but just kind of focus on her death in general. She's usually pretty open. With yours, Donatella, it's a matter of we're still teaching the ghosts how to use it. So I will tell you that Eliza's maiden name was started with an L. So her initials would be ELP. Obviously, we're looking for anything else that would end with a P, and I'll be looking at the letters before it for sets of initials. We're trying to keep things very simple with that device, even though we have had some words spelled out completely for us so far. But I've been still trying to keep it simple, so I would stick to what are Eliza's initials, or if Charles is here, show us your initials, which are obviously CP, and then Eliza would be ELP. So we're going to keep things nice and simple with yours. I am going to keep Jim behind, so I can show him how to use that motion sensor in this location. But we're going to start spreading out in this spot. And of course, just be mindful of vehicles, Russ, because again, people don't like their cars to be filmed, but we're not going to go near any vehicles. We still have plenty of space. It's a Monday night. There's only 5 cars here. But Gene, obviously you can want to stay behind and kind of see how this thing works too. But the 4 of you, go ahead and start bouncing around, asking your questions, and kind of seeing what's popping up, and I'm going to be with everybody in just a minute. Russ, with you, it's nice slow motions. So the slower you go, the better. All right, so Jim, have you seen any numbers show up on that guy yet? What have you seen?
Seen just over here 3.3.
Okay, pretty low.
Here 5.3.
Good spike, I mean, almost seems about 18 to 22, and that's just this location. That's going to be super high for any other location because that's just an average of what I normally see. The fact that you're at a 13 at this point, I want to escalate it, so I'm not writing down a full book of numbers. So anything above that at this point, we're going to go and keep escalating the threshold. But the 3.8 that you had over there, anomalous Earth EMF is going to be up to 1.1, and we were crossing over some sidewalks that had electrical lines underneath them with the parking meters, so I'm going to debunk a lot of those things ahead of time. That goes usually between 3 and 5, just depending on the proximity. So I mean, you're taller than me, so it might actually be a little bit less. So with me, it would be like a 5, because I hold it probably 4 or 5 inches lower than you. But that's good that you can actually see it. So let's say you have these emotions. So
Oh, it's hot.
No, my hand is not going to make regular defense go up. Just the motion. So if you're at 25, that's good too.
Well, my arms are getting tired, Annie.
I don't think you have to keep it high. That's not high. Yeah, I'm not getting anything. Very cold? That's sweater.
All right, I got a jacket.
She's going out of the park.
What's this woman's name? Elijah?
Elijah.
Eliza.
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 I think I was saying Elijah. But Eliza.
Huh. Eliza told me to get out of the fucking street. She is weird.
All right, what's coming up out of your spirit box? Are you hearing anything?
Honey, Eliza told me to tell you to get out of the fucking street. Apparently it's an issue.
I know we look like a bunch of crazies out here.
Eliza told me to tell Dottie to get out of the fucking street.
That was pretty funny.
She's very current. I don't know why. She's good at what she does. Hmm?
I'm not really sure what I need to do.
I can't believe that's registering 99.6 or whatever.
It goes to 108 and it turns back to 88 something.
This also comes with an attachment that's a rectal thermometer, and it goes right to 98.7.
It's in my ear, so.
Okay. Yeah,
That's not playing. That was past.
I was looking in Big John's, and the Chiefs and the Raiders were playing, and I thought, oh God.
Oh, the Chiefs. How are the Chiefs doing?
They're doing good this year.
Well, no, yeah.
They've lost only one game.
Yeah. But are they playing? You said they were playing in there?
Yeah, they're in Big John's playing right now. Chiefs and Raiders, one of the great traditional rivalries. I'm not in the parking lot with this.
You didn't. You didn't see the score?
I couldn't tell the score. The Raiders had just scored.
Little distance.
Excuse me. Jenny's device comes with an attachment that's a rectal thermometer, and right now it's reading 98.7. Sherry.
Different stations.
Jenny's device apparently comes with an attachment like this. It's a rectal thermometer. He's reading 98.7.
It may be reading a little hotter there. Do you think? It may be. I've heard like 4 super clear words.
Get out of here.
No, I really have.
Really?
Only 4. And that's it. It's been chatter.
What are the words?
There was palmetto, history, father, and what was the name? Was it Daniel or Matthew? There was a name. I can't remember now because I was talking to him, but he wrote them down. So he goes, "You heard that name?" So I don't know. Did you get anything? I had 4 names, four words that I could actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I
So
think
I don't know. But didn't get. I was supposed to ask the year she died. I'm not getting any of that. Apparently, it was. It doesn't want to talk to me.
So do you see anything different now?
I see the heat coming from your
Other-
nostrils.
Other than Jenny's rectal thermometer is 90.
Yeah, it was pretty blue right around Jenny's asshole.
Well,
The guy actually
You watch out for the vehicle.
my
Just turn it around. You got any letters coming up out of that thing?
just me. But nothing makes sense.
Well, you don't know. Again, I might be able to unscramble something.
Trust me, like I've been like that coming out all the time, but I just couldn't read anything. Like,
Yeah, you also have like it went over, like it's rating over itself. Well,
so I'm dying to.
oh, I haven't heard any music. That's so weird. I haven't heard any music. There hasn't been anything.
I hear a lot of music.
I hear.
Like a little Black Sabbath.
I hear.
It's like
no,
really going fast.
Yeah, but I hear no music.
He's as slow as he can get it. IDR.com.
Yeah, I've only heard a couple of words that are clear, and I'm not
oh, fair enough. Where was the color at? How about that? It's just pointless to get footage of us walking, so.
So how old do you think these bricks that we're walking on are?
They're at least from 1739.
Is that right? Okay.
It's part of the reason why we're here. Actually, stop right up here. So kind of
Okay.
get a gist of where we're at, what's going on. Everybody made it, right? All right, good deal. I like having these smaller curtains. So, welcome to Lodge Alley. What did we hear? What did we see? What do we got going on? Came up out of yours. Anything?
Eliana. She's getting these names that are.
Yeah, a little bit more modern, it sounds like. Jerry, you got anything on yours? Nothing? Donatella, you make anything?
No, nobody's talking to me.
Nobody's talking to you at all?
Nobody's hanging like down to the
What kind of sensitivities I think today's going to be looking for EMF anyway. Jenny, you got anything? Nothing at all. Okay. Weird space. So, this location is a lot different than the last one. So here's how this one works. The last crosswalk that we came down, coming down East Bay Street, that's where the original Charlestown walls used to be. You're standing on one of the first streets we ever had. So, a lot of weird things go on here. So let's kind of start with why I was asking you for names. I have the full list of residents of the people that used to live here. It's not a lengthy list, because only 2 to 5 people lived here at a time, but you guys often tell me the same 2 names every 6 to 7 weeks. Those 2 names happen to be Benjamin and John. So you guys obviously didn't hear Benjamin and John tonight, but we're in week 1 of that loop. So I kind of count it from a Sunday to Saturday kind of mentality, and obviously today's Monday, so we're still in week 1, but I didn't know if we were going to get anything based off of crazy weather, moon phases, whatever. So we're kind of see, I always pay attention right around the cusp because I can't pinpoint it yet of exactly when it's going to happen. I don't know what occurred here from Benjamin and John, but they both lived here in the same time frame, 1801. John, there were 4 different Johns that lived here, so you're wondering how the hell do we know which one it is? He'll give us his last name. His mother was evil and named him John Johnson. So he will give us his full name, John Johnson, and then the name Benjamin will show up. Every once in a while, a third name, you guys will tell me, is Jane. And it's not a common name that we hear today anyway. So that's a third person out of 5 people that lived here in 1801. It's really all I have, but I do know why it's happening. The bricks you're standing on, these are Belgian blocks. They've been here since at least 1739, like I was telling Russ on the way down here. The historians don't even know exactly how old these bricks are. They're made completely of granite. It's the stone tape theory. It's a paranormal theory where basically it states that any natural stone, which these are made out of granite, so granite is a natural stone that has been in the same place for a long period of time, say a few hundred years, can hang on to the memories of the things that happened here. So that's why I believe that I'm getting the same names from you guys every 6 to 7 weeks. So the stone tape theory is it's not proven completely yet, but here's the weird thing. These being made of granite, this type of stone is not supposed to have an electrical charge next to it like a quartz or magnetite, which is basically a magnet. So I literally want you to put your device on the ground and see if we get a reading out of it. Anything above 1.1, we might get a little excited about. So we have a 2.1, I see a 5.7. Now it's going down. So 5.7 was the spike here. Looks like it's going to hover around 5. So that is a high spike for this location. This is not the Pinckney Mansion site. And again, these are made of granite. It's not supposed to do that. The ground should give it 1.1 only, roughly around that era. Not anything 5 times the size. I've seen it go all the way up to 15 in this location. So again, that's normally right in the middle of the 6 to 7 week loop of when I normally find things. But again, I'll still take a 5.7 and a 4.9. So you can go ahead and pick that up, Jim. But again, it's just, we're measuring it just to kind of keep track of everything. He's like, I don't want to pick it up, it's going nuts. Yeah, a lot of people like to test the different blocks. The other reason why I like to come down here is because the reason why it's named Lodge Alley. The Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here before people lived here. So, shaking your head like, damn it. Freemasons are everywhere, right? So, what will happen is on our way in here, you guys will hear words relative to the Freemasons, including the word Illuminati. The funny thing about that is you're listening to radio stations. Who the hell is talking about the Illuminati on the radio? That's my first question. second time is, why are we only hearing it in this space? 6 times last year, 3 times this year. I verified every single one of them. We've had other terms wrapped around the Freemasons, founding fathers, symbols, masonry, Mason, Freemason. Like, we've had all of these terms show up on different styles of spirit boxes at complete random. It's not an every night thing. It's a weird space. Like I said, we got residents that lived here, and I don't know what the raised emotion is or why they're still here, but we keep getting their names. I can't find anything about these 2 gentlemen or Jane. So it's just a matter of that they lived here at the same time. That's all I have. So this is a space where it's residual. I kind of hang out for a few to see if anything's going to happen on the recordings. We have caught slight cold spots and definitely orbs with the other style of camera that I have that we're not using tonight. We're going to go to another alley. However, I can't take you all the way through it like what we're doing right now because I've been kicked out. It is considered residential at the end, and when I first started doing this, didn't really know all my boundaries, and I'm the guy who has all the blinky lights and noisemakers, so of course, I'll tell you how I got kicked out of there, because that's the fun part of the story. But it is kind of it's a staple for Charleston as far as ghost tours go. We're going to start running into other tours as we kind of get towards the end here. So we have 2 more major stops. Again, this is a brief stop, so you kind of get the gist of how the city was laid out, because we're going to be inside the original Charlestown walls for the remainder of our time together. So that'll kind of start to make sense. That's the reason why I started here. Russ is like, man, this guy talks a lot. We can move on. He just wants to listen to something. So as we exit Rush, you're going to stop your video because we're going to cut through a neighborhood to get to the next alley, and we don't record houses the same way we don't record vehicles. So still nothing coming up on yours?
I do have items, but I think that I can please.
You mind if I take a quick peek at it before you reset it? Really hoping I was going to get something tonight. And any words coming up out of yours?
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Great. Illuminati's sacrifices, right?
Pretty much what.
Yeah, it's what we all learned about. All right, so I know it's hard to listen to me and the spirit boxes at the same time, so that's why I focus on the ones that are visual. All right, let's head up to that next alley and let's go see what we can find up there. I'm a little excited about the small readings we're getting, but a little bit more.
He is? Oh, yeah. He's in.
So I get a little weird about it. But duels, we all tell the same story about a specific duel because we can all prove that it occurred. However, I tell it a little bit differently because we're ghost hunting. It's not a campfire ghost story. We need different details because of the devices that you're using. Here's how it goes. And I cued that right on time. Did you guys see that? Perfect. So, a doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents, and she has an attorney that's handling all this cash for her. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda, get rid of the doctor. So to prove that he's not after her money, he moves to Charleston. Well, the coachman that was bringing him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a good start to his stay in Charleston, but somebody was walking by and saw what was about to happen. It was a local. His name is Ralph Isaacs. I stop on him because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Ralph Isaacs, Rhode Island. Before we had the Ouija board, it was showing up on other spirit boxes. So again, with the Ouija board, I'm hoping it's going to show up even more. We did have one mid last week, I believe it was. But anyway, him and Ralph tells the doctor, you don't want to stay here. This guy, I know him. He's going to try to kill you. And I got some friends at 59 Church Street. You can stay at 59 Church Street and you'll be safe and good to go. Dr. Ladd takes him up on the offer and they become friends. The longer the doctor stays here, the more money he's making. He's proving his point that he's not after Amanda's money. That means Amanda's moving down soon, so them two can actually get married finally. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Now, every haunted city you're ever going to visit has a cliched whistling ghost. I can guarantee it. I put my paycheck on it. But there's actually proof of this one. That's the cool thing. I'm going to get to that. Him and Ralph go see plays together. They can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money than Ralph. He gets better seats. So they talk about these plays on the way home. And one night they went to go see Richard III from Shakespeare. And they're talking about the new actress that was in town. Dr. Ladd thought she was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. Gets into a little bit of a heated argument, and then it turns even uglier when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée back home in Rhode Island. So they go their separate ways. Ralph, being from here, has lots of friends. He actually goes to his friends at the newspaper, puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a disgrace to society kind of mentality. Dr. Ladd sees this newspaper ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this. So they come down, they took their 10 paces, they turned, the doctor pointed his gun in the air, and he shot. He didn't want to kill his friend, just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight. But Ralph, he has his one shot, puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. The doctor didn't die either, but Ralph is showing that he's still pretty pissed off. He drops to the ground, his friends pick him up, carry him home to 59 Church Street where he died 10 days later. He refused medical treatment. You gotta remember, he's a doctor and he tried to bleed out this bullet himself. It's a good possibility. So, here's what goes on down here. The campfire ghost story part of this is that as you walk through here, you can hear the whistles from the doctor. It is always this quiet. Even on a busy Saturday afternoon, we still can't hear East Bay Street over here. It's the most uncanny thing I've ever seen. However, every local knows this story. If you're going to try to come down here without me, because remember I can't take you all the way through because I'm going to get to that, everybody likes to throw a whistle down the alley. So if you're down Queen Street or come down Cumberland, everybody throws a whistle. I do it every single night. We're going to end over there, but my garage is over there, so I have to pass the alley. And when my daughter's on the tour, we race to see who's going to throw the whistle first. It's kind of a little game we play, especially since I got booted out. So here's why I got booted out of here. This alley didn't go all the way through. It actually stopped about halfway between us and Cumberland Street that way. So that means the bricks on this side are older. Those are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's one full handprint of a slave child in one of those bricks and fingerprint swipes on bricks to the left if you're walking this way. I used to always show them off because I'm sure you guys figured out I'm all about the history at this point, right? So again, it's just something we all need to see. It kind of reminds us of how far we've actually come. I don't care the diversity of my group, I'm still going to point them out. However, everybody wants to try to get a reading from that damn brick. And November 26th of 2020, my entire group of 10 was huddled around one brick trying to get a reading out of it. And I'm trying to shoo them along because it's outside the dining room window of a beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. Yeah. He saw us for one last time before he finally had his fit and he come out screaming. My daughter thought it was great because she was on the tour that night and Dad's getting yelled at. So we moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I worked in retail management for over 20 years. I was never working another Thanksgiving in my life. So there was no tour that night. The next day was November 28th. Yes, the dates are relevant. I got a phone call asking me to go down halfway like everybody else, which is what we're allowed to do, or to reroute my tour. I decided it's not fair for my 10 to try to spread out and investigate around 20 to 60 people. So we're going to tell the story outside the alley and reroute. I told my group that night that I didn't believe the story that I was about to tell them at the next location because I really didn't know much about it and I've never had activity there. We were going to be discussing pirates. I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. So I was kind of upset that I was losing part of the stories I used to tell on the other side of the alley. So before we leave, somebody hears the name Anne on a spirit box. I did not tell them we were going to be investigating the female pirate Anne Bonny. So I was like, all right, we'll see what happens. We get down there, I told what little bit I did know about piracy at the time. Somebody else hears the number 300. And I'm like, okay, I'll write it down and see what happens. I do the research the next day. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. And when I realized it, I went, damn it. Now I got to learn about pirates. Because again, putting something factual together like a paranormal investigation using pirate lore can be very difficult. So it was a stack of pirate books and trying to piece it all together to make sure what we are going to be able to go through can be proven in some way, shape, or form. The fun thing is that I'm not going to give you a plethora of questions like what we did with the Pinckneys. It's going to be a lot of ask whatever you want to. Here's 2 things I left out of the story on purpose. So that way you at least have something to get started with. So this is a very cool space. This is one of my favorite places in Charleston. You can see how beautifully lit it is, even at night, and it is one of the most picturesque places I think we have. But I work at night. What do I know? I don't know what the place looks like during the daytime. So we hear anything, see anything before we actually kind of get out of this location. We got any readings?
No,
We had
2.5.
we had a weird 15 show up here last night. I was kind of surprised. I know it's hard to listen to a lengthy story in those spirit boxes at the same time. So nothing coming out of yours? All right. Anything on your Act. Like they went to go see a play. I like Act. We'll definitely take that one. It's very slight. It's very vague, but hopefully it's going to give us something else. Now we're going to be close enough to this location when we get up to the Powder Magazine where we'll get some bleed over. So we may get some relative terms to the Doctor story while we're up there discussing pirates. So again, I know these stories obviously pretty well because I continue to read more and more about them. So you might give me the word revolver or dueling, or you know what I mean, something along those lines. I'm like, oh, that's probably relative to the Doctor story. So we'll kind of see how this goes. Any letters coming up out of yours? No RI for us?
I have lots of R, but not RY next to each other.
Okay, yeah. Definitely, I want those consecutive. We had an IR the one night. I'm like, yeah, that's a little bit too much of a stretch. I definitely want it in order of RI. All right, so I say we get the heck out of this space and let's go talk about some crazy pirates. What do you guys think?
All right.
All right.
Can you hold me?
Hmm?
Trying to find my phone.
I'm getting an FU.
I know. That's my message, honey.
We have something relevant from you. That's awesome. I'm excited. That's
Where's she going?
She's taking picture.
anything out of yours?
As I was walking down the street, I got seriously Merci, which I thought was.
What'd you get?
I like Merci, but I look up and it says French Quarter.
French
It's
Quarter.
very weird.
She had the word doctor, so we're gonna take it. Oh, you got the Ouija now?
She was just taking a picture.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we're not talking to you. We're talking to me.
Do you have any words that popped up out of yours?
Nathan and Stone.
We are stopped. We follow directions. Good. All right, so welcome to the Powder Magazine. So I'm sure you noticed there's a lot of other tours around here. This is actually pretty light in the summertime. Like, we're fighting for corners because everybody has these weird stops. And every ghost tour in town stops over at St. Philip's, the cemetery on that side. But I also like to point out that there's two different sides to the cemetery. If you're a native of Charleston, you're buried on the side where the church is. Everybody else comes over here on the other side of this wall. So we're across the street from it. Your 7th Vice President, John Calhoun, if you're a history buff, is on the other side of this wall. This side of the cemetery is usually open during the day. So it's usually open until, sunset. So you can normally go visit, or other tours might even take you through there. We do get terms relative to Calhoun. And I just learned last night from a local that was on the tour that Andrew Jackson actually also had a duel in Dueler's Alley at one point, and John Calhoun served under Jackson. So I find it very interesting, like all of those things tied to piece together. So I didn't have time to research it today, but I might have to actually add that little tidbit to the group. Because, again, we get relative things to Calhoun and Jackson, but normally in the month of March, because Calhoun was born in March, he died in March. So I usually talk about him more then. But every ghost tour stops across the street because there's a sign inside the cemetery right at the gate that says, "There's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost." There's a reason for it. The church put it there because they didn't want people like us trying to recreate what actually happened. So here's this little quick story. They make it this big elaborate finale, and I let them have it because they have something to show. So that's why I tell it over here. But with that said, 1888, a young lady dies by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. We talked about initials before. It's cheesy, it's campy. I hate telling you this, but we do get Sue Howard Hardy's initials. Shh. I know, I hate it, but we get it all the time. Now that we have the Ouija board, we've actually had the full SHH the minute we walked in here one night last week. I was super stoked. So I'm hoping that's going to show up again. But she dies 6 days after her stillborn child. Very sad story, very abrupt ending. But in 1987, so it was 99 years later. 1987, a local photographer is taking pictures of all of the cemeteries. He's putting a book together, and he captures an apparition in one of his photographs as he's developing them. He sends it off to Kodak because he doesn't know what to do with it because he doesn't have the tech that we now have. Kodak doesn't know what to do with this picture either. They say it's never been tampered with. So for guys like me, this picture is gold. However, it is cursed to females. It's mainly females in this group tonight. I'm going to ask that none of you touch the tablet because they say if you handle it, even in a digital format, it is the same symptoms like what we talked about at the beginning. So it's the headache, the nausea, the dizziness. Pregnant females that are handling it are probably not going to have a good pregnancy based on the gist of the stillborn baby in the story, and I'm not going to be the guy where somebody had a great honeymoon and then 9 months later I curse their family. So that's why I say don't touch my damn tablet. I'm that guy. So again, it's super interesting, and I'll zoom in and I'll go 2 by 2 so that way everybody can see it. What's that?
None of us are childbearing age, just saying. I'm assuming.
It's still funny to hear, like, I'm the guy that's going to tell you if it's cursed or not. But it's one of those pieces where if you, the headache, the nausea, and the dizziness, that's definitely things that all in our age groups. So here's the full photograph that they took, or that he took. Your apparition is right here. You're looking at a woman praying over her own grave with the baby basket next to her. And this is probably another instance where the baby's buried with the mother because the baby was born stillborn. So, full picture. There's your apparition. This is Sue's grave. Those are her shoulders, the top of her head, and then the baby basket next to her. Even when you zoom in a little bit further, say on a computer, you can see the weaving of the basket. So you can see where it would be a little bit weird when he's developing it. But you're looking at a woman praying over her own grave, and everybody kind of misses the basket until I point it out. I'm like, holy crap, there's a baby basket right there. But yeah, it's very interesting. So when you look up like apparitions and photos, like this will probably be like in your top 20 of things that we talk about. It's a very famous picture in our world. So let's talk about pirates because that's why we're here, right? Do you have anything coming up on that thing?
No.
No. That little building over there with the crosses on it. First off, those are not crosses. Those are earthquake bolts. If you're unfamiliar with what earthquake bolts are, they're basically turnbuckles. If we have another earthquake, like what we did in 1886, which we have not, you can turn those turnbuckles, and it's supposed to straighten the building back up by tightening it. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work, just so you know. The reason I bring these ones up is because this is the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston put in. It's the oldest government building in South Carolina, and they wanted to make sure it was protected. You guys have been seeing earthquake bolts all over town and didn't realize it. It's just part of our Charleston charm. Even the apartment building behind the little tiny building has earthquake bolts crisscrossed. There's some going on the opposite side as well. So they go this way. It's interesting. But you guys have seen lion heads and pineapples on the side of buildings. Like, those are earthquake bolts. So it's just part of our Charleston charm. We're here because this building is what I call a familiar. We had an intelligent, we had a residual, we actually had another intelligent with the doctor, but this one's what I call a familiar because there's not too many buildings around this age. This building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny came to Charleston to start her new life. So, I know history can be boring. I'm sorry. I caught that yawn. I'm going to throw them out there every time. Here's where our story begins. Right in the middle of its construction, try to follow me, there's a couple of twists. We're talking about nutsy pirates here. 1708 is where our story begins. Anne Cormac moves here from Ireland. She's with her father and his mistress. The mistress turns out to be Anne's mother. Is everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's why I slowed down on that part, because if I go too fast, it's a mess. The three of them are running away from her father's angry wife. Got it now?
Yeah.
His wife is pissed because he had an affair and had an
Okay.
illegitimate child.
Okay.
Okay, so they run away and they land in Georgetown. That's just north of here, between us and Myrtle Beach. Dad bought a plantation up there, and Mom died pretty quickly. That means he has to send young Anne down here to the Charlestown area to be able to sell anything to keep things afloat for the family. So we're here because, again, the building is familiar. Back home in Ireland, Anne was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly when she was like 7, 8, 9 years old. Like, young lady. I just want to put that mentality of her, as we kind of go through her story. Let's fast forward. Building's done in 1713. Pirates are coming through Charlestown in 1715. Anne is stoked because she wants to fall in love pretty quickly so she can earn her freedom just like a man. It's a man's world at that point, and she wants her freedom. First guy she falls in love with. Yes, I said first because there's a handful, and we're going to go through them all. First guy is James Bonny. You already see where this one's going, right? Dad didn't approve. He's a filthy pirate. They run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormac is now Anne Bonny, the famous female pirate. However, James Bonny is not the Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for, because every young lady wants a Captain Jack Sparrow. You didn't, you were quick with that one. So, this guy is a privateer, which means he's a spy for the British. He's a coward in her eyes. So a few years later, she falls in love again, guy number 2. This guy's name is John Rackham, aka Calico Jack. This is literally the person they based Captain Jack Sparrow off of, the character. So, is he the Captain Jack Sparrow she wanted? Absolutely. He has his own ship. She wants to be part of it. You can't put a girl on a pirate crew. Does anybody know why?
Bad luck.
They're bad luck. Right, so he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and hide your gender, you could be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this. Again, it's a man's world. She wants to be a pirate. Let's go. Let's put 2 and 2 together. We're all adults here. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a female. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby in Cuba. These are friends of mine. They'll help you out. Come back later. We'll figure it out. She goes and has a baby, returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to the child. When she returns, she's also dressed like a female. This makes Jack pretty angry. And while she was away, giving birth to his child, he captured another pirate crew and they're down below deck. She's going to go flirting with that pirate crew to make him even more mad, because that's what Anne does. We're on guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females on the same ship trying to be pirates dressing up as males. Her name is Mary Reed. She went by Mark Reed to become a pirate. Her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers. We're never going to know for sure, but the British find out where they are, and they send a fleet of ships to take down one measly pirate ship. Anne and Mary are the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks, probably because they don't know how to use the cannons yet to fight the fleet of ships off. Yeah, I told you, it's a crazy story. Now, obviously, 2 ladies with 1-bullet flintlocks are not going to take on a fleet of ships. So as they're being arrested, she looks at her beau, Calico Jack, and says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up here a lot on your spirit boxes. We've even had barking show up out of your spirit boxes. The craziest thing. People say, "I just heard a dog barking." I'm like, awesome. I get excited. And they're like, what the hell's with the dog? But anyway, the judge, his name is Nick as well. So when you guys hear my name, it's not me, it's him. He wants to see the 2 men that fought back so valiantly after he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken pirates 2 days prior. So they're already dead and gone. Anne and Mary go in front. They reveal their gender, that they're female, and he doesn't give a shit. Pardon the French, but he just doesn't. They're still pirates. "We plead our bellies" was the last thing they screamed out, because you can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail and delays the hanging. Dad is still here in South Carolina with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary Reed. We don't really know. And she has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. Yes.
Wow.
Very abrupt. We don't know much about her after a prior career. So as far as Mary Reed goes, she died a year later, 1721, in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. Most articles and books would tell you that it was fever. I'm going to call BS on that one. It was probably scurvious and nasty and gross and whatever your imagination wants to go to. So 2 things I left out of that story altogether, so you guys can actually start working with your communication devices. Well, first off, Jim, with yours, you're going to turn on that motion sensor, and you're going to be, it already looks like it's already on.
It's on.
You're going to be asking Anne what her hair color is. It's red. I'm going to tell you flat out that it's red. The only time we've ever gotten a red out of that, which means she has to touch the antenna, is in this location. And I was trying to get the answer out of one of their spirit boxes, and she gave it to me on that one twice in the same evening. I think it was Saturday night. We had it 10 times, and we moved around the lot. So again, you haven't seen a red yet, unless it was from your emotion. But as far as the other 2 questions for your other, spirit boxes, it's about Aunt Bonnie's parents, the father and his mistress. I did not give you the names of those 2 people. I also didn't give you the name of Calico Jack's ship. So that's an interesting one too. We don't always get that answer, but I always like to poke it and kind of see what we can get out of it. But anything else is fair game. This is pirate lore. You can ask whatever the hell you want to. Before we separate, and I can tell you where we can actually go around here, I like to also tell you why I give that heated warning at the top of the tour. Last year, a year ago, September, so 2021, I brought my team of 10 back here, and the kid next to me goes white as a ghost. Like he's about to drop, like wet noodle. I have to pick him up quickly by his armpit so he doesn't hit his head on the ground. His boyfriend picks him up on the other side of him, and it's a nice cool night, just like this actually. And we move him over to that wall, get him a place to sit, bottle of water, he's feeling better. I then told him the story I just told you. After I spread everybody out to go play with their devices on our last, stop, they pull me aside and say, Nick, we got to tell you, we are 2 transgender males, meaning I had 2 females dressed as males, just like Anne and Mary in the story, on the tour. So again, I don't ask questions. I didn't even ask what the relationship was, amongst everybody. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. So that way I'm not calling some little kid's uncle dad kind of mentality. But I didn't do that. I didn't do that with them. So it made sense as to why one of them about passed out the minute we entered the space. So he wasn't overdressed. It was just a weird anomaly. These things happen. That's why I give those warnings out. And psychics normally don't make it past those high EMFs on the Pinckney Mansion site. I don't know how many times I've had to call the EMTs, and I've had CPR training the first time it happened. I'm like, holy crap, this is gonna drop some psychics out. So I was in CPR class the next day. But again, just like to point those things out. I know we're in that last stop, and it's like, oh, now you tell us that people have dropped like wet noodles. Here's where we can go. So obviously we want to try to get some footage across the street over there, Russ, if there's no other tours of that sign where the cemetery is. You can also go to the front of the powder magazine. That would mean you have to exit the lot and make a left in front of those bushes. Just the only thing I ask is you don't interrupt the other tours. If there's a tour there, just kind of wait your turn or go back to the other spot, or you can come back over here. We have gotten anomalies in this space as well. You're going to be the wandering cameraman. So anybody else that wants to go to those spaces, by all means do so. Just know that your device is pretty much irrelevant over there because of all the electrical buildings and whatnot. Also, too, do not get excited if you're going close. We have 2 electrical poles in the corners of the lot, and on the other side of those bushes, we have parking meters. So if you start to see 3, 5, 7s, those are usually coming from them. It's all about the colors in this location. Gene, do you have any words that showed up that might be relevant to anything I talked about here?
I don't think so.
Okay, we do get a lot ship, crew, that kind of mentality. We get a lot of weird stuff out of this. Have you heard anything? I know you 2 were both laughing at me, so that's kind of cool. And then, Donatella, you got anything?
No,
Nothing.
not really. I mean,
All right, let's have some
lots of
fun. It's our last stop.
nothing I can-
Come back and see me in 5 to 7 minutes at the wall. We'll talk about what we found. Man, show us your hair color. Crazy pirates. exciting when you get to watch it on YouTube. You are recording, right?
I'm a recording, my man.
Okay.
Powder magazine.
Interesting.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a story on this today, and to be honest, I don't remember it.
I don't know, but yeah, I did that so I could go look it up. Because there's another powder magazine, I think closer in.
I think this one, they didn't use it for very long because as the city started getting bigger and bigger, they couldn't afford to have basically this huge bomb right here in the middle of town. So they discontinued using it as a powder magazine fairly early on.
I just got like little leaps of echo.
Oh yeah, here we go. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness.
Does it change it anyway?
Oh, this doesn't show anything really.
I guess we're not visiting, right? Come on, let's concentrate. Okay, come on. Come on, come on, come on over.
I don't want to get back up.
Just give me one, honey. Is that enough with buddy?
I mean, I think he gets 100% of it anyway, so.
Yes. Pretty much. So. It's like, I mean, he's good. It's nice. I like it, but
Oh. Honey? Is it just me, or is it strange that these people walk through here with a dog?
dog was not barking. I'll just do that. Hey, you never know where he's coming from. It's a different country.
Yeah, you're right. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
I do believe in this kind of stuff. I believe a lot more until tonight.
You believe what?
A lot more until tonight.
Oh.
I really do. Because it's like, I've done a vision board and I stopped doing it just because things happen to me.
Oh, wow.
Where I like walk around all the time.
That's
Like,
crazy.
yeah, it was crazy, insane. So like I actually stopped doing it just because we knew that someone died. We talked right before we died. And,
Oh,
and
that's
that-
scary.
Yes. It was so scary that I stopped, like, I quit completely. I never did
That would
again
speak
for
me a
like
little bit, yeah.
50 years. I've not been again. He's not saying but it's like, so I did believe in that because it happened to me before.
Yeah. That would speak me.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I'm not taking music because that's
Like, songs.
What?
I get a lot of songs, but they're like intermittent songs because it changes stations so fast.
Huh. You think you're picking up a radio?
Holding it.
Oh, there we go.
How did I do with names tonight? Did I screw anybody's name up? this location